to another episode of Kindling. I'm Awe, your storyteller and companion on an epic quest to experience Africa through stories. Today, we journey to a landlocked country in the Sahel region of West Africa, known as the Land of Upright People. It's Burkina Faso, a fascinating country and a hub of modern storytelling, playing host to one of Africa's largest film festivals. Our tale today comes to us from the Jula people and tells the story of how our intentions, good or bad, can come back to haunt us. This is the story of the Orphan and the Jewel. Once, long ago, in a small village, there was a young girl named Lolo who had lost both her mother and her father and was left to live with her stepmother. Now, unfortunately for the girl, her stepmother was a mean and lazy woman, and she had an even meaner and lazier daughter of her own. Yet, even though life was difficult for the orphan girl, she was always happy, and everyone in the village remarked on what a pretty, well-mannered and hard-working girl she was. Every day, it was Lolo, the orphan, who did all the work in the house, who washed the dishes, who did the laundry, who pounded the millet, and who cooked all the meals. And of course, every day, the stepmother and stepsister would eat as much as they wanted and leave only a few meager leftovers for the poor orphan girl. Now, despite her difficult lot, she still never complained. One day, just after breakfast, as she was gathering all the dishes to take them and go and wash them in the pond, Lolo accidentally broke one of the earthenware jars used for cooking. Now, although she was afraid of what would happen to her, she immediately ran to tell her stepmother the truth of what had happened, perhaps hoping that her honesty might inspire some mercy. But of course, the stepmother was furious and rose up angrily against the girl. "You clumsy idiot," she shouted. "Well, since you have broken it, you must travel far away and fetch another jar just like it. Now, go away. Go!" Despite knowing full well that it would take at least 7 days for poor Lolo to reach the village, the mean stepmother sent her off while her lazy daughter giggled unsympathetically. Well, poor Lolo said nothing. She didn't even stop to cry, since she knew it would be absolutely pointless and there would be no sympathy for her. She simply took to the road and did exactly as she was told, to make her way all the way to find the village of potters and get another brand new earthenware jug. Well, for days she walked and walked and walked. The road was long and difficult, but she knew that she had no choice. On and on she continued, even as the weeds along the path tore at her feet and ripped her clothes and scratched her whole body. Even as she grew tired and weak from thirst and hunger, and her provisions began to run out, she continued to walk and walk and walk until she reached a certain old man crouched under a tree. "Child," said the old man weakly, "oh, would you please wash my back?" Now, even though she was exhausted from many days of traveling, the orphan girl Lolo took pity on the old man and agreed. She fetched some water from a nearby stream and gently washed his itchy skin. And while she was doing this, to her surprise, she noticed that there was a hole in the old man's back, just behind his ribs. "Reach inside," the old man instructed, "and take what you find." Well, she did as he asked and pulled out a kind of stick with strange markings and carvings. "Take the stick with you," said the old man, "and when you come to the river filled with crocodiles, raise it up high and the waters will part. Do not be afraid. Nothing bad will happen to you." So the orphan girl took the stick, thanked the old man, and continued on her way. She walked and walked and walked some more until she came across a certain old woman. Now, this old woman was a sorceress, and she was sitting at the riverbank picking lice from her head. "Child," the woman called, "come here, come here. Help me comb my hair." Once again, although she was tired, Lolo the orphan girl agreed. Now it so happened that Lolo had with her a comb which she carried in her hair. So she took it out and used it to comb the old woman's hair, gently removing all the lice. And when she was finished, the sorceress was so pleased with the girl's work that she cast a brilliant diamond star on the girl's forehead to show her gratitude. Well, with thanks, Lolo continued her journey until she came to the thickest, bushiest part of the forest. Her diamond light shone as she walked through the twilight, and to her surprise, she now found that all the wild animals were afraid of her, and instead of attacking her, they ran away and let her pass. Then, when she reached the river where there were crocodiles, she took the stick that the old man had given her and raised it up so that the waters in the river split in two, leaving a path for her to pass down the middle. Now, when she had crossed the river at last, she finally arrived at the village of potters. "What has brought you to our land so far away from your home?" the villagers asked. And so the girl explained her quest and what had happened. "Ah, that's no problem at all," they replied. "Tomorrow we shall make you a new pot that looks exactly like the one that you broke." With that, the villagers invited Lolo to stay with them for the night, and they gave her food, and they gave her drink, and they gave her a warm bed to sleep in for the night. Now, the very next morning, the villagers, as promised, fired up their kilns and created a new earthenware pot to give to Lolo the orphan girl. And with that, she gave her thanks, said her goodbyes, and made her way all the way back home, where she dutifully gave the beautiful new earthenware pot to her stepmother. But instead of thanking the girl for her quest and for the new pot, when she saw that the orphan had returned with a diamond on her forehead, the stepmother became so jealous that she immediately got up and broke the new pot which Lolo had brought all the way from the potter's village so far away. And then the stepmother ordered her own lazy daughter to go out in search of another pot just the same, thinking, of course, that she too would come back with a bright, sparkling jewel on her forehead. Well, The lazy daughter grumbled, to be sure, but she took to the road as she was told, and walked and walked and walked until she too came across the old man. Just as before, the old man called to her, "Child, child, come here and wash my back." But the girl retorted, "Never. Who would ever wash your back? You dirty old thing, you dirty old thing. You ask me to wash your back. Who would ever agree to that?" Well, the old man turned away and said nothing more. The girl now continued on her way. She walked and walked and walked until she too arrived at the place where the old sorceress sat by the riverbank. Just as before, the old woman called out to the girl to come and help her pick the lice from her head. "Oh, girl, come here and help me pick the lice." But again, the lazy girl refused. "You dirty old hag, you dirty old hag. Who would ever soil their hands on your filthy hair? You disgusting witch with all those lice. You dirty old bag." The old woman turned away and said nothing more. So the lazy girl took to the path once again to continue on her way. But by now, when she came to pass the place in the forest that was the thickest and bushiest part of the forest where the animals were, a lion suddenly dashed out from behind the bushes and immediately devoured her. Meanwhile, back at home, her greedy mother sat and waited expectantly for the daughter's return. 7 days passed, then more days passed, but still the greedy woman did not see her daughter return. Fearing the worst, of course, the woman began to cry, and then she took out her misery on the orphan girl, Lolo, even more harshly than ever. But, as always, Lolo simply did her chores as diligently as she always had, and with that, the diamond on her forehead shone brighter and brighter each day. Now, one day, the king's son was promenading in the village when he saw the orphan girl and was instantly captivated by her beauty and the shining star on her forehead. The prince rushed back to the palace and said, Father, I have found the girl that I would like to marry." Immediately, the king himself mounted his horse, and with all his men behind him, they went to the village and took the girl, Lolo, and put her on the horse and brought her back to the palace, where she was married to the prince in a grand ceremony with much celebration and happiness. All the villagers now marveled at her remarkable story, and they said amongst themselves, "Now you see, if you do evil to other people's children, it will surely return to you one day." And that was the end of the story. And there we have it, Africa's very own version of the Cinderella story, reminding us that the nature of our deeds always returns to us. And so, we should always try to treat others with compassion, especially when they're weaker than us. Well, thank you for joining me once again this week as we make our way across the continent, one story at a time. Next week, we find ourselves in Burundi to discover the wisdom of Kirundi folktales. Now, if you've enjoyed our stories so far and would like to book a storytelling session for your school, organization, or event, you can easily contact us using the details in the description box below. So whether you're looking to hear a specific African folktale, explore a given theme, or desire a completely original story created just for you, we're here to help and spark your imagination. So get in touch and let the magic of stories light up your world. Until next time, keep the fire burning.